Now here's Alex Jones again. Remember we played on the show yesterday. Now we're going to get into Palantir stuff. We'll settle down from the Russia fights. Oh yeah, good point. Conspiracy truther. Every leader of Israel has come from the old Soviet area. Right. All right. So Alex Jones, we played the clip of him with Fuentes yesterday. That was like, we're going to break. Oh, stop. You brought up Palantir again. They're not a big deal. No, he is doubling down again. I think this is yesterday's show. Alex Jones responds to the Palantir hysteria. Oh, you're just obsessed with Palantir. And lays out what's really happening. Tell us about why Palantir's not a threat, Alex. They're only doing all the shit you warned about for decades. Now tell us why they're the good guys. Okay, let's hear Alex Jones sweep for Palantir.
The populace. Everybody's asking me about Palantir. And when you look at it and you understand it, Palantir and the surveillance systems and the AI and all of it has been an outlier from the bigger companies. And it's been wanting to get big contracts. And Trump wants to use it to track illegal aliens and stuff. And the real ID that they're trying to bring in that's terrible, that never got implemented because it's unconstitutional. So I've been critical of all of that. And I obviously don't trust Palantir and the rest of the stuff it's doing. But it is small compared to all the other big AI and the Pentagon Sentinel and all the rest of it. The reason you're seeing the attacks on it everywhere is because it's trying to get contracts that other big tech companies already have, and because Palantir has been supportive of Trump.
Everybody, it's just, dude, you're anti-Trump if you're anti-Palantir. That's what he says. Dude, Jones is such a fucking shill. Oh, nothing to worry about Palantir. They're not as big as the other companies. Don't worry, Goyam.
Is going to them because they've been supporters. But all this hype about Palantir, all of these systems can be used for control. All these systems are out of control. All the AIs are woke. So Palantir is being used.
It's all bad. Don't worry about Palantir because it's all bad. We see these tricks you're doing, man. You should be raising the alarm about Palantir. If Alex Jones was genuine, he would be sounding the alarm about Palantir. But no, he's running cover for it. If you ever need to know why we should be concerned with Palantir, this is it right here.
To run AI drones, killing people in Gaza, all of it's very concerning. But why do people know about Palantir and nothing else? Well, that's because it comes from the left, only focusing on Palantir.
That's what he tried with Alex Jones, too. It's not just the left that's focusing on Palantir, you fucking liar. You liar. You're with the left and the Muslims if you criticize Israel. You're with the left. You're with the... that's what he said. You're with the squad and Ilhan Omar. That's when I called in years ago on Jones's show. That's what he said. Oh, you're with the squad if you're anti-Israel. Oh, you think Trump's a Zionist? You're with the squad. What are you, a leftist? What are you reading, Nazi books? That's what he tried on me.
Run AI drones, killing people in Gaza. All of it's very concerning.
The CEO, Alex Karp of Palantir, is a leftist, progressive, like communist Jew, by the way.
But why do people know about Palantir and nothing else? Well, that's because it comes from the left.
Who says they know about nothing else? No, we know about Psy Group and NSO Group and Cambridge Analytica and all the Israeli Unit 8200 companies. And we know about Microsoft and we know about Google. We know about them all. What is this? This is just all pure obfuscation and sophistry from sellout shill Jones.
Only focusing on Palantir because it's seen as something being brought in to surveil the government itself and to try to find ways for fraud and abuse. That's an expanding U.S. surveillance state. And the New York Times and all of them are all over it. Palantir's deepening government ties spark fears of centralized surveillance. And you've got the owner of it, the CEO of it, with all his statements about crushing the right wing in Europe and all the rest of it. I got serious concerns. It's just that endless hyping about it and only focusing on it is coming out of the left, and the populist anti-globalist movement has taken it.
Palantir's anti-globalist. Dude, Jones, just, if you want to figure out the truth, just like do the opposite of what Alex Jones says. Honestly, that's a good way to start.
Absolutely. Hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah, you're falling for Alex Jones's propaganda, hook, line, and sinker. Sick. Let's do this. What is Palantir? I saw this going around a while back. This guy that worked at Palantir, like, became a whistleblower. Wasn't it Palantir that had, like, the high-level guy? No, that was ChatGPT. Had a high-level guy, like, that looked like he was murdered or something. Let's do this.
But to criticize an employer that also owns extremely lethal technologies and surveillance technologies that are highly invasive and used in war zones is something else entirely.
It's 2025. We're all kind of used to government surveillance. The idea that we're all being watched all the time and don't own our own personal data has become normalized. We're also used to the military spending vast amounts of our money on just a few giant defense contractors. But one tech company wants to change both of those things
and become the ultimate military contractor and the ultimate arbiter of all of our data.
Palantir is here to...
Hey, you know what I just thought too? I've done this before, but if this Russia stuff keeps happening, I'm just going to have to do a show and play a whole Johnny Gat documentary. Show you guys.
Disrupt and make the institutions we partner with the very best in the world, and when it's necessary, to scare enemies and on occasion kill them.
Check out Palantir shares surging 22% after the company cited a boom in demand for its AI software from the U.S. government.
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am.
Palantir, a tech company based here in Denver, claims they can revolutionize government systems with their data analysis software, newly powered by artificial intelligence.
They've been hired by the Department of Defense, the FBI, local police departments, and even the IRS and Wendy's to take in the information those organizations collect even more information, and use that data to draw conclusions.
Remember, this is the company that Alex Jones says, nothing to see here, guys. Don't worry about these guys. They're actually patriots. The deep state, the leftists, and the Muslims are just after them. Don't worry about them.
It can be used to completely reconfigure organizations' ontology, its reality, what systems matter, what information matters, what processes matter, how they are structured, what biases are introduced at each of those stages.
We talked to
Adam, which angers you more, Russia shills or flat Earth? Honestly, I think a lot of the flat Earth could be botted by Russia. Same with the QAnon stuff. Same with the Christian Muslim alliance bullshit. And don't tell me for 1 second that Russia doesn't have bots. They do. Israel's got butts. Israel's got ass. Israel's got bots. Russia's got bots. They both got propagandists. Don't lie to yourself.
Former Palantir employee, dug decades of research, and listened to hours of Alex Karp's own words to unwrap the layers of Palantir's carefully cultivated sales pitch, how they capitalize on fear, uncertainty, and unrest.
Yeah, that's the one. Sorry, conspiracy truther. War, Western Alliance resistance. What was I calling it? I've heard some of their videos. I just found them pretty recently. They put up little clips of their podcast talking about Russian stuff. I want to get that guy on. For sure.
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination. This is a company built for bad times. Bad times mean strong finances internally. Bad times are very good for Palantir because we build products that are robust, that are built for danger.
Let's rewind a little.
Palantir's story starts with one of the most effective things a company can have for sales: fear.
After the September 11th attacks, the United States government began expanding surveillance both at home and abroad. This was, of course, a boon for the defense industry at large. Simultaneously, the Silicon Valley tech industry was growing fast and making people in a once obscure industry very, very rich, very, very quickly, like the founders and executives at PayPal.
Is Elon in this photo? Peter Thiel, I saw that his net worth under Trump in like the last year or so has gone from 7 billion to 21 billion.
As the PayPal mafia, Elon Musk, Reid Hoffman, the LinkedIn guy, and Peter Thiel. When PayPal was sold, Thiel had millions of dollars burning a hole in his pocket and an idea. PayPal had developed systems for detecting fraud and crimes on the platform. What if they could use similar thinking to analyze the world at large? So Thiel pulled...
Yeah, and PayPal teamed up with the ADL and banned me and so many others too. So how do you think Palantir is going to go? I heard Palantir has some like hit list, dissident list or something. I wonder if I'm on there. Guarantee it.
Network to build out a new company. One of the first hires was Thiel's Stanford Law School roommate, Alex Karp, who'd gone on after Stanford to get a PhD in not business or computer science or engineering, but neoclassical social theory. They named the company Palantir, after the Palantiri from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
In Lord of the Rings, a Palantir stone is a magical object that allows its users to predict the future or to see what's going on in a remote location.
It was originally created by the elves. It was meant to be used for good purposes. It is potentially a very dangerous technology.
Oh my God.
Powerful.
Couldn't have more of an ominous name. Alex Jones is like, Palantir, nothing to worry about. They're the good guys. You're just a leftist Muslim Brotherhood agent if you don't like Palantir.
Long have you hunted me?
So that's Middle Earth, but what does Palantir do in a regular Earth?
And what we do is we use what legal scholars call predicate-based search. So we would look at you, and then it may be indicative of someone involved in bad behavior.
Put simpler, they make software that makes it easier for their customers to collect and analyze data, and then act on that analysis with and without AI. By 2013, 10 years after their founding, Palantir's client list included the FBI, the CIA, the NSA, the Marines, the Air Force, Special Operations Command, and more.
Did your company helped to track and kill Osama bin Laden?
You know, we can never. I'll tell you, the closest thing to an answer is when you look at
they were privatized intelligence right after 9/11 too. They're founded in 2001. I didn't know that they helped find bin Laden.
You open the paper and look in the news about these kind of things, depending on the country involved, that somehow my company was involved.
Fundamentally, the mission that is pushed to employees is that we're solving the world's hardest problems and supporting Western institutions. That is the main driver of sort of this militaristic culture that is developed inside of Palantir.
If you do not feel comfortable supporting the legitimate efforts of America and its allies in the context of war, don't join Palantir.
This entire message of we are the most lethal, we are the most able to surveil.
If you're not with the Zionist, don't join Palantir.
And process large amounts of data.
You have created the system which you call kill chain.
Privately. Publicly, the lawyers have some innocuous something like tech for the amelioration of unwanted blah, blah, blah. Some term.
Wow.
Okay, let's...
for me, it's the kill chain.
Kill chain.
The kill chain. He's like, yeah, that's what we call it, but there's some lawyer's name. He literally pulled the lawyer card. He's like,
listen, everybody, don't freak out. Don't call your lawyers, all right?
Just not a kill chain.
Everybody's happy.
It's not a kill chain. We gave it some nice euphemistic name. Everybody's happy.
Sounds good.
Kill chain isn't an original term created by Palantir. It's the more general military verbiage for the series of decisions leading from identifying a target to taking their life. Palantir's contract added their software and artificial intelligence to the kill chain.
It's quicker and better and safer and more violent.
It's tech that Juan helped market.
It reduces the distance you have to the problem, but when you're able to take a step back and really see all the narratives and how they were shaped and the actual application of these technologies, your whole world starts falling apart, which is something that, definitely happened to me.
Juan didn't leave.
Alex Jones running cover for this is the most transparent thing ever. If you need to know how much of a fraud Alex Jones is, he's telling you there's nothing to worry about this. They're the good guys. They're not as big as the other companies. They're just pro-Trump, so it's okay. They're also pro-Israel.
Palantir entirely for ethical reasons.
In Russia, what do we know about Russia in Palantir? Anybody? Anybody know about that?
Just got another job. But the reason he eventually started speaking out against Palantir came after watching the Israeli invasion of Gaza following the October 7th attacks. Palantir has contracts with the Israeli Defense Forces. The exact nature of the contracts is opaque, intentionally, but there is evidence to suggest that Palantir's artificial intelligence tech was used for selecting targets in Gaza. Karp doesn't mind the controversy. In fact, it's part of the marketing.
Palantir will even pick up the projects that other companies rejected for political reasons.
We are very comfortable being unpopular.
Karp doesn't think controversy.
Yeah, Palantir brags that they single-handedly stopped the far right in Europe, and Alex Jones says they're nothing. They're patriots. They're nothing to worry about, guys.
Will lose Palantir customers.
Whatever is pissing them off, they're still buying the product.
Wendy's hired Palantir to help with their supply chain. Palantir works with health insurance companies to build AI for denials management to protect revenue.
Do you want Palantir's AI making decisions about what care is covered for you and your loved ones?
They also do business with for-profit hospitals, major investment banks, and even other defense contractors. In 2024, Palantir brought in nearly $2.9 billion in revenue, 55% of which came from government sources, with the vast majority being American. So let's look at their pitch to the American government. Last year, Palantir CTO Shyam Sankar put out a presentation and white paper called The Defense Reformation. He cites The Last Supper, which was a secretive 1993 meeting between defense industry executives and the Deputy Secretary of Defense. Over a dozen companies walked in, and only a few walked out. That dinner is often cited as the origin of our consolidated military-industrial complex.
And to me, I think this was the definitive moment that kicked off the financialization of defense. From that point forward, it became all about buybacks and dividends and leverage ratios.
Criticizing the financialization of the defense industry, calling out stock buybacks, that doesn't sound like a defense executive. That sounds more like the exact argument about the defense industry that we have made before.
I think what's interesting to me about Palantir is how they co-opt the language of revolution.
But Sankar's argument did work on somebody, Uncle Sam. The Defense Innovation Board, an advisory group within the Department of Defense, cited Sankar's presentation multiple times in their 2024 report on why the DoD needs to divert more of their budget to emerging technology. That's giving money to Palantir. There's a reason Palantir just replaced Ford Motors in the S&P 100 in the months after Trump was.
Oh, they're just a small company, nothing to worry about. They're not as big as the other companies. They're bigger than Ford.
The Trump administration is an ideal customer for what Palantir is selling. First, there are many former Palantir employees sprinkled across the Trump administration, from inside Doge to foreign policy advisors to high-level technology appointees. And Palantir co-founder Peter Thiel, heavily invested in the company, is also heavily invested in President Trump and Vice President Vance. He was a major campaign donor to both. Then the stated goal of Doge is to streamline and combine government data, which is exactly what Palantir does.
The ways that the government is defrauded is that the computer systems don't talk to each other.
And obviously,
Doge is literally a Palantir op.
Karp is loving it.
Disruption at the end of the day exposes things that aren't working. There'll be ups and downs. This is a revolution. Some people can get their heads cut off. It's like we're expecting to see really unexpected things and to win.
And what is winning, according to Palantir? This is CTO Shyam Sankar in 2021.
Turning to government, we continue to advance our mission of becoming the U.S. government's central operating system as we extend our footprint across defense, healthcare, and civilian agencies.
The government's operating system. They want everything to funnel through Palantir. Palantir already has contracts with the IRS, going through taxpayer data to save auditors time by finding the easiest audits to pursue.
Oh my God.
Now, Wired reports, Doge will likely provide software for the entire IRS, a mega API that would allow...
All of Christianity and Judaism and Islam is based on Jews playing pretend. You can maybe say that. Not all history, though.
Anyone with access to view and possibly alter all IRS data in one place. That's all of your financial information. And they have multiple contracts with the Department of Health and Human Services, including nearly $100 million to support HHS's core administrative data.
Oh, MAHA, Make America Healthy Again. Bobby Kennedy, also Palantir. So they're going to connect IRS, medical, mortgage, kill list, social credit score. Alex Jones is like, they're no big deal. They're patriots. Don't worry about it. Go back to sleep, go him.
Applications to manage, ingest, and access data securely across business domains. HHS's core responsibility is Medicare and Medicaid. That's control over millions of Americans' health records and their access to healthcare. So what does it mean for one contractor to have all that power, data, and taxpayer money as profit, especially as AI gets involved?
As we kind of increasingly live in a simulated world, we lose touch with reality and the human decisions that matter, and we move closer towards governance by algorithm, not only made by decisions of automated artificial intelligence systems, which is a problem, but more importantly, subject to decisions made by the people who are influencing these AI systems and creating them in order to fulfill an agenda for whatever their profit-seeking or control-seeking objective.
It's like the biggest New World Order globalist thing ever, and Jones is like, don't worry about it.
And when I see Doge kind of going into every agency and addressing the IT department first, I see it as an opportunity to try to change reality itself.
But so what? Why am I telling you all of this? Palantir has no problem being seen as Big Brother, as all-powerful, as lethal even.
We're at the brink of using these technologies potentially to run our government, to run our battlefields, and our personal lives. Using artificial intelligence as a sort of panacea solution across our federal departments, and especially when they're, again, wielded by people with a very distinct agenda, puts everyone at risk.
It almost feels like that's been the plan all along. Here's co-founder Peter Thiel in 2010 at Libertopia, a libertarian conference, speaking about tech companies and government.
The basic idea was that we could never win an election on getting certain things because we were in such a small minority. But maybe you could actually unilaterally change the world without having to constantly convince people and beg people and plead with people who are never going to agree with you through technological means. And this is where I think technology is this incredible alternative to politics.
And here's Alex Karp in 2009 on civil liberties with regards to Palantir's work.
The central question, in my view, of civil liberties is how, it's not if the government has data, because let's assume the government has as much data as a health insurance company. It's how is that data being used? Is it being used in a way that's lawful? Meaning, do they have the right to use it? And is it being migrated into places it's not allowed to be used? We allow the enforcement of rules that government ought to enforce. And by the way, my experience is they want to enforce, or at the very least know they need to enforce. And if it's framed in that way, then you can have what is the ultimate Silicon Valley solution.
One co-founder openly wants to use the power of the tech industry to affect politics. The other wants his company to have oversight over how the government data they're paid to handle is used.
And the founders of Palantir will retain control in the company no matter what, through an obscure ownership structure. Their Class F shares grant them 49...
Oh, and remember we covered yesterday, a lot of people are tweeting about it, this new Trump's Big Beautiful Bill has all this money funding going to AI, stuff like this, and also it says that there could be no laws created to regulate AI in any way for 10 years. That's what Trump is trying to push right now, to give these guys complete deregulation, a complete free-for-all for these guys to take over. And I saw in the chat, too, Curtis Yarvin talks about replacing democracy and government with, like, corporate technocracy. That's where we're headed. That's where we're at. We're not headed. We're there.
Even if they collectively own as little as 6% of the company.
At the start of this journey, I was extremely afraid for the repercussions of this writing, of speaking out. But now I'm like, even...
Remember that when they appeared at the football game? 4 Zionists, Elon, Vance, Trump, and... what's his name? Johnson? Mike Johnson? Is that his name? Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson? That's right? Palantir, right there. Sponsored, brought to you by Palantir.
More convinced that this is absolutely necessary.
We can't replace our current broken system with an even more broken one. And we can't let the worst people in Silicon Valley become our government.
It's not about whether you're actually at risk for speaking out or not. It's just the idea that somebody's watching you is enough to push people into silence.
I don't know about that.
We will get tired. That you have no idea who you're up against. This is our country. That is our...
We're so cooked.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to support...
That was disturbing. That was I worked at Palantir, the tech company reshaping reality. Now there's one more. This one's called What Does Palantir Actually Do? This one's a little more goofy of a YouTuber, but this YouTuber has... This video was out 2.5 months ago. Palmer Luckey, that's the other AI weapons manufacturer that says he's a rabid Zionist too. What does Palantir actually do? This is from Good Work, 1 million subs, 2.5 million views 2 months ago. Let's check this one out.
Oh, that is as addictive as opioids. So when I learned that last year's best performing stock by growth was a Silicon Valley unicorn by the name of Palantir, I was pretty sure I knew what they were up to. Probably they made a streaming service called Boo Boo, a housing rental app called Housely, or earbuds called Doinkers or whatever. But just to be sure, I looked them up. At which point it became clear that these cats are a little different from the techies who typically cross my desk.
We built this kill chain, the digital kill chain. How do you defend your country and kill your enemies? Our product is used on occasion to kill people.
2 things here, folks. First, I have wet my pants. Second, what?
Okay, that blew my eardrums.
Decision and delivering mission-critical outcomes for the West's most powerful institutions. Sentences that boldly ask the question, what if Genghis Khan and Ronald Reagan had a baby who wrote mind-numbingly boring marketing copy? However, I did come across one thing in my research that even I can wrap my noggin around. Whatever Palantir does, it makes them a lot of money.
Palantir stock is booming, absolutely skyrocketing.
Palantir has been a standout this week, surging 22%.
Hugest outperformers of the last year. Right now, there is no comparable company.
I'm here bravely outside of the offices of Palantir. Their stock rocketed up 340% in 2024, peaking this winter to give them a valuation of over $250 billion. And although their stock price has dipped since then, they remain right up there with the likes of AT&T, IBM, and those hunks over at Cisco. But I could...
Hold on. Remember Alex Jones says they're a small company? They're not as big as the others?
AT&T, IBM, and those hunks over at Cisco.
They've blown up that their stock market cap is bigger than AT&T, almost as big as that. They're right as big as all the biggest names. And Alex Jones says there's nothing to worry about.
But I couldn't.
He just hopes he can lie all he wants, and he hopes nobody ever fact checks what he says.
Money distract me. Not now. If I was to truly understand Palantir, I was going to have to take more drastic measures. like calling people who actually know what they're talking about.
Can you answer that question for me here and now? What exactly does Palantir do?
I will say two things. The fact that you're asking that question goes to the heart of the company and the confusion over it, and also the mystique of it. Number two is I will tell you what they do. They want to win Defense Department contracts.
Hey, good point, Skyrocket. Skrockerick. Golden Dome is probably Palantir's Skynet. You're right. Good point. The Golden Dome is going to be used like in Terminator to like blow up all of America with our own defense mechanisms. The Golden Dome going to destroy Golden Edom.
Commercial contracts as well, but I think they have their eye at the prize.
Sharon Weinberger is the Wall Street Journal's national security editor, and much like me, she's been covering the U.S. defense industry for over 20 years.
They got their start going back to 2003 in trying to come up with a data analytics platform. We're in the middle of the war on terror. We're involved in operations in Afghanistan. We're involved in operations in Iraq. And what is our number one problem there at the time? It's insurgency. It's roadside bombs, IEDs, that were killing U.S. and allied soldiers and infantry on the ground at a really alarming rate. So Palantir came in and said, look, we can take all of this information that you're collecting, and the Defense Department collects a whole lot on the battlefield, and integrate it in a database and help you spot bad actors, spot terrorists. That is what they pitched themselves as doing.
I just saw this meme. Trump taps Palantir to create master database. Palantir social credit score. Fell for it again award. MAGA. Do not criticize Israel. Barbed wire and cams. Total 1984.
Doing when they were first sort of coming on the scene in 2003, 2004, and really for the first decade plus of its existence. What they've expanded to today is something much bigger, in some ways more interesting, and in some ways kind of posits them to be more successful, which is they are a problem solver for the Department of Defense. You have a problem, we will solve it.
All right, so here's the deal. Palantir is a data analytics software company who got its start during the war on terror and today has big ambitions to be the U.S. Department of Defense's go-to problem solver.
The idea of a Silicon Valley company saying we kill things, we kill people, like, that we're interested in serving the Department of Defense and the Department of Defense wages war, that was simply unprecedented back in 2003. It was what made them unique. People hadn't seen it, and that they were going to compete with companies that had been around for decades and dominated the market.
The companies Sharon's talking about here are commonly known as the big defense primes. Places like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, Northrop Grumman, and Raytheon. The Department of Defense gives these chillers huge contracts to make fighter jets and stuff.
One of the things that these new companies like Palantir are kind of helping to disrupt, which is probably good, is the system of prime contracting and defense contracting. We have a few big contractors that have these giant contracts and they have cost overruns. One reason the Pentagon's budget is so big.
Margaret O'Mara is a historian and professor who studies the modern history of American politics and business and how they overlap.
And this is something that policymakers have been pushing back against for decades and trying to rectify. So yeah, having more companies in the ecosystem, that's probably really good.
Palantir is at the front of a new group of companies who say they're going to disrupt the old, slow, bloated defense primes with their new, efficient, innovative, user-friendly Silicon Valley style. Because, you either die making boring old fighter jets or you live long enough to see someone come along with their own swarm of autonomous attack drones.
They've made a ton of really senior hires from US government agencies, and also a number of really senior Palantir executives have been appointed by Trump to senior government positions.
Palantir has been hiring well from, I guess, the pool of people that know how the government system works.
Tabby Kinder is the Financial Times West Coast finance editor, and Cynthia O'Murku is an investigative reporter for the FT. Together they wrote a piece about how successful Palantir has been at landing government contracts, pointing out that the company has done quite a good job of cultivating, shall we say, intimate, toe-tickling relationships with governments.
Palantir has been built on people from government. They are obviously informed. They're people that work on these really crucial missions and in the armed forces and all those sorts of places where Palantir has traditionally sold its business.
And boy, have these boys been selling some business. Palantir has landed over $1.3 billion in Department of Defense contracts since 2009. This is for stuff like the Army's Vantage Data Analytics platform, this James Bond-style AI satellite computer suitcase, an AI-powered drone system called Project Maven, and Titan, the Army's first AI-defined vehicle, which promises to do things like reduce sensor-to-shooter timelines, reduce soldier workflow burdens and cognitive load, and enable long-range precision fire for the modern battle space. Basically, stuff that not only goes vroom vroom and pew pew, but also beep boop beep. Scary shit here, folks. But Palantir's government contracts extend well beyond the military. During the COVID-19 pandemic, the U.S. contracted Palantir to track outbreak data and set up a system to distribute vaccines. More controversially, Palantir reportedly helped Immigration and Customs Enforcement with all sorts of stuff, including a surveillance system to plan and organize workplace raids on an original contract worth as much as $127 million. During the 2010s, the New Orleans Police Department ran a secretive partnership with Palantir to test predictive policing technology, which could have been named Minority Report if we had any taste. Around the world, Palantir's tech is being used by the Ukrainian military, by the Israeli military for, quote, war-related missions, and by the British government to overhaul the technology behind the NHS, England's state-run health service, which oversees one of the biggest repositories of individual patient data in the world.
So in the UK, it became quite a controversial, set of contracts that were implemented. The UK government had opened itself up with open arms, or welcomed Palantir with open arms, whereas civil liberty groups and groups with privacy concerns were a lot more skeptical. I think there's been a lot of concern around Palantir and it's what it really means for them to provide these services, and especially privacy advocates have been very concerned about its offerings, and Palantir has pushed against a lot of this concern. But I think it is about transparency and how much access can you get and what can you do behind the scenes that another company cannot, and that is being done outside the purview of the public.
And even with all this government work lined up, Palantir has still managed to girl boss its way into an impressive book of commercial business. Banks and government regulators use stuff like Palantir's anti-money laundering and customer data tracking products. BP has been a longtime partner, using Palantir's software to support its digital transformation program. Palantir's chief technology officer tweeted last year that the company
I'm not taking a dump.
include United Airlines, Lowe's, General Mills, and
Would that be a problem if I was?
General Hospital. By Jove, they've even got their paws in big pickleball.
Just watching.
If you think pickleball paddles are loud, just wait till you hear motherfucking Titan rolling down your street. It's the Army's first AI-defined vehicle, folks. Long-range, precision fire for the modern battle space. Overall, Palantir's commercial revenue in the United States jumped by 54% last year. A lot of that momentum driven by Palantir's pivot from data surveillance in their early years to AI products today. Now, the honchos who originally created this sprawling Palantir beast are none other than Peter Thiel and this guy, who looks like if Taika Waititi got electrocuted. His name is Alex Karp. Though Thiel tends to stay in the shadows like the sassy little mystery minx he is, Karp is one of those modern tech CEOs who says a bunch of crazy shit to feverish crowds of employees and retail investors that he calls Palantirians, leading them like mother flippin' Caesar Augustus.
It's definitely been in this kind of meme.
This guy's not funny.
Reddit retail army category for a while. The subreddit for Palantir traders is...
Karp is Jewish. Karp is Jewish. I'm not so sure Peter Thiel is, though. He kind of looks like he is, but I'm not sure that he is. I think they say he's not.
People now, they refer to Alex Karp, the chief executive, as Daddy Karp. He's really responded to that by saying kind of increasingly... I'm trying to find a polite way to say this, just increasingly...
He's tight with Barry Weiss, too. I just saw her name up there.
Out there things in his interviews.
That's right, Tabby. It's always dangerous to start calling rich guys daddy because you never know what they're going to feel emboldened to say next.
Me as a front man offending half of America.
I don't think in win-lose. I think in domination.
Almost nothing makes a human happier than taking the lines of cocaine away from these short sellers.
I love the idea of getting a drone and having light fentanyl-laced urine spraying on analysts who tried to screw us.
And now, despite whatever...
Totally a guy I would trust.
...on good old American Fent P, Karp is a tricky figure to pin down. Yes, he partnered with Peter Thiel, the notorious far-right libertarian who backed Trump's 2016 campaign and bankrolled J.D. Vance's political career to build a data surveillance company for hunting down terrorists. All stuff that might be easy to generalize as...
Okay, everybody in the chat saying he's Jewish. What's the proof of that? Can you link some proof?
Conservative. But then again, he backed Kamala Harris during the latest presidential election. He frequently donates to Democrats. He likes to go trail running and loves Denver. All stuff that might be easy to generalize as lesbian. Everybody? I think we got a new type of guy on our hands.
Karp is someone who comes from a kind of left-wing background. Peter Thiel, who's the founder and really the person behind Palantir, is famous in the Valley for being a very outspoken conservative or a techno-libertarian. They have these really interesting, strange bedfellows in terms of leadership, but I think they have something in common with the old-style Valley, of the Valley of the Cold War era, in that there's this understanding that there is a partnership that's necessary between private industry.
It says on Wikipedia he's Jewish? No way.
And
really?
The defense establishment in order to get the best tech in the hands hands
Why
of
didn't you link
the
it?
U.S. government. It's waxed and waned, but there's always the business of war has always been Silicon Valley's business to some degree.
The relationship that Alex Karp and Palantir are
early life check.
The tech industry and the Department of Defense isn't so much a new status quo as it is a fresh version of an old one. Karp is very open about being a fan of the old school tech industry. One where Lockheed Missiles in Space was the largest employer in Silicon Valley through the 1980s. One where the Department of Defense built the original internet. One where
Doesn't say it on
Oppenheimer's Manhattan
Wikipedia
Project
when I look.
brought together the finest scientific and engineering minds in the U.S. to collaborate with the government. In his new book, which I read on the subway and was then immediately hit on by a very Ford attack drone, Alex Karp argues that the tech industry has lost its way over the last few decades, focusing on consumer products that essentially abandon any serious attempt to advance society. He writes that the software industry should rebuild its relationship with the govt, and while the blending of business and national purpose makes many uneasy, it is now the job of Silicon Valley to defend the West. And it's here that Karp has differentiated himself from his 21st century tech contemporaries with how open he is about both patriotism and making tech products for killing. But his peers are starting to follow suit.
Dude, this guy's voice, the way he talks, is just irritating me.
He is always
Like, I am the reporter on the street, and I talk like this, and blah, 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 blah. It's
these ties with Washington,
just so
DC,
fake.
but often has been very low-key about it and coy about it and pretended that, oh, we don't do anything with those people over there. They're like, we don't care about politics. It matters nothing to our business.
Hold on, guys. Are you confused? I said Karp is Jewish. Peter Thiel is not. That's what I was saying.
We're a free market miracle. And in the background, they're like, not this tax break. I'm interested now. It's just more overt. And now I think there's a more broader public consciousness of like, oh, wait a minute. People like Peter Thiel and Elon Musk, they get a lot of federal contracts.
Now, despite Karp and Palantir's very real momentum, it doesn't mean that they are that close to revolutionizing the defense industry and unseating those old defense primes.
They have yet to prove that they can build a major weapons system better than a Lockheed Martin, Boeing, or Raytheon. They may have their own views on that, but when I look across at like what's being used in Ukraine on a mass scale, that is not yet the Palantirs or Andurils of the world. Doesn't mean they won't do it, but they have yet to prove they can.
Nonetheless, it is possible that Palantir will be the future. And if they are, then the approach that they have taken to rise to prominence. Well, this would all mean an entirely new paradigm for how American defense companies operate.
You don't typically see the heads of Lockheed Martin or Raytheon giving opinions about how the world should be ordered. Lockheed Martin is not trying to appeal to the day traders or to the meme stocks or to any of that. Palantir they're kind of trying to sell themselves to the nation writ large. I think that is part of what is new in this era, is Silicon Valley companies saying working with the Pentagon is not a dirty business. It helps national defense. These are good things to do. And clearly their message is working. Will that work in the long term? We'll see.
Indeed, we will see. For now, though, in the meantime, I've got my eyes on you, Palantir, and I encourage all my fellow citizens to do the same. For if a defense company thinks that it can... Oh, shit.
That's funny.
And now for a dramatic reading.
Okay, done with him. Done with him. All right, guys. Now you know about Palantir and Russian propaganda, and how Christianity destroyed Western civilization, did not build it.